Hi there, this is part 3 of this video series, and it is titled The Abuse Demonstration, which hopefully teaches you how to understand the blueprint of your child or teenager. So as you can see, here is a blueprint here of a house, right? And anytime you want to build a house, you create a blueprint because you need to understand the foundation. What is it going to take to build that house on, right? So I use this as an example of understanding your teenager, because when you understand their blueprint, then you can then guide them to make some changes and also provide them with resources for healing or even coping skills based on whatever experiences they have endured. Now, the blueprint here also stands for an understanding of where they've been unbeknownst to you. So sometimes your child may have had a tragic experience on the lines of some type of abuse that you still are not aware of. But there's other signs that you may start to witness that may lead you to think that, well, maybe something is just not quite right. And then maybe you could create a safe environment for him or her to maybe share with you. Because until that experience is validated, recognized, and a plan of action for treatment or some type of counseling is created, the behaviors are just going to manifest and continue. And then they might also start to take risk-taking behaviors. And risk-taking behaviors is not just drugs and alcohol. A lot of parents think, oh, risk-taking is just when they're upset and they want to numb their pain from their experiences, and they start drinking and they start testing and experiencing with illegal drugs or even prescription type of drugs. And that's not the only risk-taking behaviors you need to be aware of. There's others. I'm going to give you an example of other risk-taking behaviors, which would be, do they like to live in high adrenaline? Like, do they like to speed? Are they into racing? Are they into dares? There's this one teenager that I'm working with right now, and his risk-taking behaviors, because his experiences have left him to be, very in a painful state from what happened with his mother. He doesn't do drugs or alcohol, but he climbs buildings, and he likes to be on high-rise buildings on the top of the roof and looking down. He doesn't want to commit suicide or jump off of it, but he likes that adrenaline rush of being on top of that. That's a risk-taking behavior. So there's different choices in risk-taking behavior, not just drugs and alcohol. So understanding your child's blueprint will help guide you to understand his or her behaviors and interject when help may be needed. So today's demonstration, to help you understand, is a complete abuse demonstration I'm going to give you. So I'm just going to put this paper right over here, and this is going to act as my paper that I'm going to write on. And these two, they're identical. They're the same. Okay? So we're gonna this is the same. They're the same. There's nothing different about them. So let's just go with the same gender, same age, same. Okay, that's all the same. So first we're going to do is we're going to take this person's experience in their environment, in their life so far, and it's negative. So then the first thing you would do in this situation is think about negative words, what their experiences could be. So maybe they have experienced verbal abuse. So let's write this down. Verbal. Actually, I'm going to switch them so that I can write easier on this top one. Okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's just, we've all been there. It happens. Let's just quickly fix this. Okay, so verbal abuse. Let's say that him or her has been, no, just keep it going. Let's say that they've experienced put downs. So maybe the negative word would be, oh, they're stupid, they're lazy. Maybe they've experienced emotional abuse. Maybe they've experienced physical abuse. Let me just do that. Physical abuse, so they've actually been hit. Okay, so let's put physical here. So a lot of put downs, a lot of negativity, all negative feedback, right? Okay, think of, I'm sure if you're watching this demonstration, you've already come up with a list of negative words or negative feedback that maybe you've experienced when you were a child, or you know that your child has experienced from other people. So you put all this down, all this is filled. We even need to touch on what we don't really like to talk about, but we all know that it happens. It's sexual abuse. So we're going to put that down here. Okay, so I think we have enough words here. So this teen has not experienced this. So what is this teen's life like? Okay, so now we think about positive words, right? So they are constantly being encouraged. So let's put encourage. They're supported. They're happy. They know that their parents love them. So they feel love, right? They feel love, they feel happy, they're supported, they're encouraged to try things, their basic needs are met. And maybe in this one, their basic needs are not met. Okay? And so, love, happy, they're excited about life, they have goals. Okay? So we have all these positive words. We need a couple more positive words. Let's say they are able to achieve. And over here would be fail. Right? They're failure. They have failures. So these are the difference between these two, right? This is a negative experience. This is a positive experience. So what happens when this teenager is experiencing this, all this negativity coming back to them by people in their immediate family, in their environment that they're growing up in? So maybe it's their parents, maybe it's their teachers, maybe it's other family members. And I know that I taught you bounce in the first part of this video series, but this is something that has been going on for years, since they're young children, you know. And so what happens is they start to believe it, and then it's like their hope and they're not allowed to dream or try to create any kind of life for them, because they feel deep inside that they're not going to be able to do it because no one believes in them, right? That's another one, believe. Let's use believe. So in this child, everybody believes, right? So belief, right? And this one, no, there's no trust, nothing in this one, right? So what this does to this teenager, I'm referring to teenagers because this is when it's most relevant. And when I start to do the scale, it's going to start from middle school age so that you can see the pattern. I'm going to show you something specific for when this happens. So if the child has been sexually abused, physically abused, emotionally abused, verbally abused, they've been spoken down to like they're stupid, they're dumb, any kind of negativity, they're basic needs are not being met, meaning they're not getting dinner every night, they don't have shoes to get to school, anything like that, any kind of experiences that allows them to not feel good about themselves is one way that that contributes to all this negativity in this diagram here. So what then is the ramifications for this experience? Well, I'm going to show you right now. Every time something like this happens, it chips away at you. So it tears the person, right? It inside, their feelings, their emotions, their hopes, their dreams, everything. They just shrink down. And then every single one of them, so how many do we have here? You know, we just strip it, right? Strip it. Whereas this one is being encouraged and loved and people believe in him or her. This one is constantly being stripped of who they potentially could have been. And then this person is considered broken, right? Because they have all these things going on in their head. This is what their tapes are in their head that they relive all the time. This is the dialogue that they have been taught about themselves by outside influences. And this one is only, I'm happy, my family loves me, people believe in me, I've never been abused, I don't have, I don't have to worry about my basic needs being provided for me. I get all the support I need. I can do what I need to do, and I can create any goal, and I will be able to achieve it because I have the support and the resources behind me to make it happen. So this person can believe in themselves, right? So we got this person. This is the broken person. So here, we're going to write over here, broken, right? And this is whole, okay? Because they remain whole, right? So then what happens is, all this has been going on, and then you come into the teen years, right? The preteen years. This is preteen. Oh. Preteen, then you got 15, teen, and then young adult, right? 18, right? So here's all the markers. Okay? Okay? So same thing here, right? Gotta go 15, 18, adult, teen, right? You get the point, right? Okay. So what happens is that, let's say this 11-year-old had these negative experiences and they feel broken about themselves, right? Now they're entering, what grade is it? 6th grade, 6th to 8th grade, right? So this is middle school, right? And what happens in middle school? What happens to the parent of a child that has to go to middle school? The parent becomes a little nervous. You know, especially if it's their first child entering middle school, because that's when they're going to be asked certain things, and people are going to try to, give them alternatives and, oh, try this and try that. And that's where they're going to most experience a very high level of peer pressure. But does it have to be that way? Well, we're going to see. So this one, same thing, middle school, 6th grade, let's put the GR there, middle school, okay? But this one is whole, okay? So this one has all this going on in their head, right? Going on, 6th grade, this is 6th grade right now, 7, 8, all that's going all the way up, right? What happens is as they start to grow and become in this age group, their development, they're going to grow this way, but their development is going to stay right here. So their they're not growing with their age because they've had some traumatic abuse experiences. So when that happens, they're going to start to attract different people, and they're going to attract like people that have the same or similar experiences, because they're going to be broken too. So broken people are always trying to fit in. They're always trying to fill a void. Maybe they're going to end up attracting friends that are doing drugs and alcohol, or maybe even other types of behaviors that you really don't want your child to do, but you didn't quite understand because you didn't know that maybe some of these abuse or negative influences were really hurting them to their core, to where they were broken and no longer whole. So it happens. Trust me, it really happens when sometimes parents just don't know what's going on. And so the next step here is that in comparison to the teenager that's whole, teenager is growing, and the preteen is growing into a teenager, and the development that he or she is experiencing is also progressing, right? It's going forward. Because once you have abuse in your life, your developmental stage stops when that experience has happened, and you're never able to catch up to it through your whole entire lifespan. So this is why, I'll give you a really good example that I use in a presentation. This is why you may witness a 19-year-old working in a grocery store or a cashier at your neighborhood store, and they seem to be immature and have an attitude, and you think, wow, how can they be working here? They're 19 years old. Well, trust me, a lot of times their developmental age may be at 13, but their chronological age is 19. So society tells them, you're 19 years old, you need to go work and make your own money and pay your own rent. But within their own selves and their developmental stage, they're really at maybe 13 or 12 because they've experienced some abuse, or they didn't really have anybody that really believed in them, that they could make goals and achieve them. So then they feel bad about themselves. So they think, oh, this is all I'm ever going to be. I can't go to college because I can't write a paper. I just barely got through high school. There's like, they think that their future is bleak. In actuality, it doesn't have to be that way. There are steps that can be taken to rectify the situation and to put them on a successful path. But the important thing here is not to compare a broken person to a whole person, because the broken person is never going to measure up and never be equal to the whole person, because that's just not in their blueprint, So let's go to this whole person now. The whole person is continuing to get the encouragement. Their family is there, they're growing, their developmental stage is on point, they become an adult, they maybe go to college because they have all these resources already, and they feel good about themselves, their self-esteem is high, their self-worth is high, and they continue to go on and become successful people in life, right? Now, also what I want to show you is that a broken person will attract a broken person. And what happens with the male-female range in high school, sometimes middle school, is the male, so let's put the guy, okay, and the girl, right? Guys start to learn this, that, they don't use the word, that girl is broken, I'm going to go try and take advantage of her. No, they start to witness behaviors, and they would see, wow, she's got this problem, or maybe they start to notice that she's sad or depressed or something, and then she wants to talk, and then they pretend to care. Sometimes they really do care, but most of the times they're just trying to see where she's at, to see, how much work they would have to do to get what they want, really. Seriously, that's just the way that it is. So what happens is the broken girl wants to feel love, right? She's broken inside. She wants to feel needed and wanted and loved. Okay? And so what happens in this dynamic is the guy learns that, oh, all I gotta tell her is I love her and she's gonna give me what she wants because she's lacking love. So this is what happens with this. The guy will use love to get sex from her. Okay? And the girl will use sex to get love from him. That's what happens when this dynamic begins to happen. And this is just not a good situation. And so when a guy uses love to get sex, this is what he would say. He would tell the girl, I love you so much. I need you to prove that you love me. I need you to have sex with me. So the girl is on this side saying, he loves me so much. I just have to have sex with him and then to prove it to him. So that's what happens with that. And then the girl says, I'm going to have sex with him because he loves me. He wants me to prove it. And this is the dynamic when two broken people get together. And what happens then? What does this equal to? It equals to broken babies. Because now these babies are being brought up and this brokenness of this guy and this girl who basically are using each other. And they don't have the self-esteem, the drive, the support to have goals within their own lives so that they can create a plan of action for themselves in a career, in education, and all of that. So they just figure, well, this is it for me. This actually leads me to when I worked at that high school and I taught Teen Wise every Fridays there. I actually asked a group of girls, what does success mean to you? And this girl really just, I can never forget her. She told me, success means to me that I can have a baby in high school, be on my own welfare, have my own food stamps, and get my own apartment in public housing. And I looked at her and I said, that's your definition of success? She said, yes, because then I can have it all on my own. I said, why do you want to have a baby when you're in high school? She said, because Miss, they called me Miss Celeste in that class. Miss Celeste, because I can love the baby and the baby can love me. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to have a serious talk with you young ladies. And I sat down and I talked to them and I said, listen, seriously, having a baby for the sole reason of having somebody to love and having that baby love you back is never a good reason to have a baby. And it's definitely not a good reason to get your own food stamps or financial support from the state. Let me set up a different scenario for you. They're like, okay, Miss Celeste, we'll listen to what you have to say. They were kind of like, what is she going to tell us now? But see, I don't really lecture. I just give information and then let them make their own choice. And so I said, what if you finished high school without getting pregnant? And what if you went to college? And what if you created a goal for yourself and you picked the job that you wanted by focusing on a career that you are trained to do in college? How would your life be different? And they looked at each other and they said, well, that's not a life for us. I said, why? I said, because we don't have money and our parents don't think we're going to be anything, and just a whole list of course, negative responses because that's what they've been told in their head because now they're broken, right? So I says, okay, so what if you start to do something that is not expected? So people kind of expect you guys to get pregnant, right? Because you're in this poverty and there's not a shock, I should say it in that way. Like if somebody was to get pregnant in this school, it's not really a shock. They're like, no, it's not. And I said, okay, so what if you change the way that you thought, your whole entire mindset, and you start to focus on yourself and doing what's best for you? And when a guy comes into your life, and if he's trying to take something from you, you put blockers up and you say, no, I'm sorry, that it does not conform to my plan and the path that I want to be on. And so then a girl stepped up and said, but Miss Celeste, if he takes me to McDonald's, then I owe him something. And so I said, okay, then let's go even further. If he takes you to McDonald's, what do you owe him? And they looked at each other because they didn't know how open they could be with me. And they said, well, it means we have to do some type of sex with them, right? And I said, no. If a guy takes you out, it doesn't matter if it's McDonald's or a restaurant or to the park, it doesn't matter. The reason a guy is taking you out, there's only should be one reason, and that's because they want to get to know you and spend time with you. That's the reason. And if they think that they can buy you a quick Happy Meal and get something in return, they're just doing what they think they need to do to get what they want. But if you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm worth more than that, I have a life plan for myself, and that's not going to work for me, they're going to go on to someone else. So what we need to do is we need to empower your friends on this campus too, to start saying no and to start creating their own goals and their own plans for their success and their futures, and have a baby when you're not only ready to have a baby, but when you can financially support the child on your own. It doesn't feel good to be on the state system to support your child. Who really, really, really wants that? Seriously, think about it. But see, they don't know any other way because they don't have an example to watch, right? They're living in public housing where that's the situation is with their parents, but that situation has become generational. So they don't even have an auntie or, aunties or even a grandmother or anybody else to look towards. Oh, I went to school. Oh, I had children later. Oh, I did this. Oh, I have this title. This is what I wanted to be. I wanted to be whatever, just fill in the blank. And this is what I had to do to get there. They don't have an example to follow through with and to see that it can happen by taking one step at a time, one day at a time, and achieving your goals in increments, because you're not going to wake up and become this person. It takes a long time. I mentioned earlier, it took me 8 years to do my bachelor's degree, Small steps lead to big success. That's what I always say. So let's wrap up with this. So broken people coming together to have broken babies, and that's what happens in this situation. Now the whole person over here is going on with his or her life, attracting whole people in their life because that's what they know. So they have very good friends, they play sports, they're involved in many activities, their parents come to their games, their parents really believe in them, they're able to set their goals, and there's nothing really for them to recover from or overcome in adversity-wise or anything. So they're less likely to try drugs and alcohol, experiment with things, because they really don't have the pain and that icky feeling or feeling drunk about themselves inside of them. So they don't have anything to numb themselves. So they keep on. So going back to that same school, so I do this demonstration. And the kids in the classroom were quiet. You could hear a pin drop because they were so interested. They knew this, but they want to get here. And so when I said, is there any questions, almost all of them raised their hand, but they all had the same question. So I, of course, chose one, and it was a young lady, and she said, Miss, we understand all this because we live that, but we want to be like them. Teach us how to be whole. We want to be whole. We want this lifestyle. We don't want to be broken anymore. We don't want to feel like how we feel right now. I said, you guys want to be whole? They're like, yeah. I go, okay. The first step is you need to get healing. You need to get help. And in order for you to get help, you have to be honest with your experiences. Find a counselor on campus or maybe a psychologist that your doctor can recommend. And in those sessions, you need to be honest, because you cannot heal from a situation unless you recognize that it did happen to you. And the only way to recognize it is if you verbalize it. You have to speak the truth. You have to let that person in. And so you have to be able to trust that person with your information. And, I know a lot of you had some experiences that are really not pleasant. But if you want to get over that and become the best that you can possibly be, the first step is to get that healing that you need. And I also want to let you know that it's not going to be a quick overnight kind of thing and then you're whole and then everything is all great in your life. You're going to come across challenges in your life, because this still will remain your blueprint, but you would have learned the tools, and you would have a different mindset about where you want your future to be and where you want to end up. So you are going to be able to use the tools that you've learned and how to react in situations and how to place yourselves in different environments that will produce a different outcome. So hanging out, trying to interject with the whole kids on the campus who are getting all that support when you're in your process will help you. Because when you're around those type of teenagers, you're less likely to do any risk-taking behaviors, because they don't need to do that. They're so whole within themselves and they're secure and safe and all of that. So, it's wonderful, right? And as a parent watching this video, you may think, well, who lives like that? Is there really families out there and teenagers who really have this wonderful experience? And the answer is yes. Actually, more families and more teenagers live this lifestyle than this lifestyle. The reason why we know more about this circumstance and this outcome is because this is what shows up in the news, right? It's always about teenage. When you hear the word teenager, what comes to your mind? Negativity. Oh, teenagers. People roll their eyes. They talk about all this stuff in the news. Well, this person did this and this teenager did that. It's all over the place. But, once in a while, hey, let's hear a victory about a teenager. So that is part 3 of this video series, the abuse demonstration and understanding your child's blueprint. I really hope that this became useful and that you can use some of the techniques and some of the stories that I have shared with you to maybe understand your teenager a little better.